Some big breaking news coming in. Covaxin now allowed in kids between 2 to 18. A big breakthrough in the vaccine effort, the vaccine drive in India. Kids now to get a vaccine. Covaxin has now been approved for kids between the age of 2 to 18. Remember, there were trials that were going on for quite a while now. In fact, Covaxin, which is already extensively used among adults, has now also been approved for kids between the age group of 2 to 18. Let me quickly cut across to Sneha Murdani for more on that. Sneha, we're looking at Covaxin, Bharat Biotech's India's indigenous vaccine now, which was so far used only among adults. Now it appears to be approved for kids between the age of 2 to 18. Is this the same vaccine that can also be used for kids, or a different variant that's coming in from Bharat Biotech?
No, it's the same vaccine, Abila, and this is a big development given the fact that this involves children in the trials between the age of 2 to 18. So, Bharat Biotech essentially has got market authorization for emergency use for the vaccine in the age group of 2 to 18, which means children as young as 2 will be now able to get the benefits of having some protection against COVID-19 in the form of India's indigenous vaccine, which again is a 2-dose vaccine right now. I'm just going to read out from what my sources have in fact told us. This is, and I'm going to the details of this. The firm, of course, has presented its proposal for grant of market authorization for years 2 to 18 for restricted use in emergency situations and presented the interim safety and immunogenicity data. The committee noted that the interim safety data of the trial was reviewed. The overall GMP for the pediatric population is comparable, which means that the efficacy levels is comparable with that of the adult population, and hence the approval has come for this important vaccine that really is required. While experts world over have really argued that it may or may not be needed in kids, but right now in India the consensus is that it is needed for children as well, and that's the reason why Bharat Biotech, which had been carrying out trials.
Right, Sneha, we'd of course like to know a little more on the approvals of it. Who has approved this vaccine for kids, and what about the WHO? Has the WHO recognized Covaxin as yet for emergency use across the globe and also for kids now?
I just want to quickly make that distinction before our viewers. The approval for Covaxin in kids has come in from the Subject Expert Committee, which has recommended an approval for the vaccine for children between the age of 2 to 18. The recommendation will go to the Drugs Comptroller General of India, which will further give its nod, which usually is the case, for a green signal for the vaccine to be used. The WHO approval for the vaccine, for Covaxin, which is the emergency use listing, is actually for Covaxin above the age of 18. And that approval has not come in just yet. So there is a big difference in this. In fact, Bharat Biotech has not even sought an approval from the WHO for vaccines for kids below the age of 18. Bharat Biotech has moved the World Health Organization seeking emergency use listing for Covaxin to be used in population above the age of 18. This approval has come in from the Subject Expert Committee of the Drugs Comptroller General of India to give an approval for the vaccine for kids between the age of 2 to 18. Technically, this is the second vaccine that has been approved in India for use in children. Adolescents, of course, have the vaccine Zycov-D, which is Zydus Cadilac's vaccine, to be used in children above the age of 12. But this is a big decision, given that children now above the age of 2 are going to be in a position to use this vaccine, of course, provided parents then choose to then use this vaccine. How is this vaccine then going to be rolled out? Again, is there going to be, identification of the priority group, even in children between the age of 2 to 18, those with comorbidities will be given the vaccine first. All of that is going to be worked out eventually by the government. But the big development is that in India, we have a vaccine, which is the indigenous vaccine, and that has got the approval for use in children between the ages of 2 to 18. The Subject Expert Committee of the Drugs Comptroller General of India, the DCGI's office, has made this recommendation, and hence the approval finally is going to be coming in from the DCGI. But the subject expert committee has given a green signal, and that's extremely significant.
Well, Sneha, if you can elaborate a little on the doses, where currently Covaxin is given as a 2-dose vaccine for adults. Does that mean also, like you did mention, this is a 2-dose vaccine for kids as well? And a little more on the approvals. Exactly the body who has approved Covaxin for kids, and what have they observed when it comes to, of course, the same body has also observed that kids in general have high immunity. Is it necessary or mandatory for vaccinating children in India, or is it just optional for now?
You know, I just want to take you through some details. You rightly asked that because kids are not developing severe infection, so why the need for the vaccine? In India, the government has gone on to say that schools can open even without the vaccine. In the longer run, let us look at giving this vaccine to children. But the fact of the matter is that world over, there is also an opinion that given that these vaccines have not moved the regular way for approval, it is emergency use authorization for these vaccines. Can it wait? That's a different school of thought altogether. Nabila, but I just want to tell you a couple of more things that I have accessed. In fact, the firms should be submitting safety data, including the data of adverse events on an AESI with due analysis every 15 days for the first 2 months and monthly thereafter for studying the risk, essentially, is what the drugs controller or the subject expert committee is saying. Basically, these are the terms and conditions under which the approval has come in. The disclaimer is as follows. The firm should also be submitting risk management plan. How are you going to do it? Also provide updated prescribing information, package insert, summary of product characteristics, and fact sheet of the vaccine and the kind of protocol that needs to be followed while giving out this vaccine. The firm should continue the study as per whole Vivian inactivated COVID virus vaccine, the approved clinical trial protocol, meaning the studies must continue even though the approval has come in for the vaccine. So all this is what I'm reading out is some of the terms and conditions. But by and large, the bottom line really is that the subject expert committee's minutes of the meeting, which I have accessed, goes on to talk about the fact that the committee has recommended for grant of market authorization for of the vaccine for the age group of 2 to 18 for restricted use in emergency situations, subject to the following conditions. So all of this is something that has been told to the told to Bharat Biotech, the company in question, on what all do you need to do. These are the terms and conditions. So they have, of course, taken some amount of precaution when it comes to giving a green signal to the vaccine per se. Remember, this is a huge, I would say, a huge development and also a risk, given that this is not a regular approval. No vaccine in India has got a regular approval for against COVID-19. The vaccine that you and I have got also are the vaccines which have got the emergency use authorization. So it's no different when it comes to children also. You rightly raised this issue. World over also there is a raging debate on whether one should be waiting for the regular approval for vaccines to children, given that they're not severely affected. But in India, the consensus right now is that they're looking at giving out vaccines for the younger population.
Right.
And in this case, the subject expert committee, with these disclaimers that I just pointed out to you, has said, yes, we give you a green signal.
Well, Sneha, of course, this is big news because parents were apprehensive to send their children to school. Of course, schools were worried on how they're going to continue with maintaining social distancing and following COVID-19 protocols, because no matter how much you tell a child not to or to keep distance or wear a mask, one knows a child to be flouting rules. And of course, a very carefree child would really not know how the gravity of COVID-19 as a disease or the pandemic itself. And now it appears parents can be rest assured. If at all they want to get their children vaccinated, then there is an option. And it seems like India has now, the vaccine in India has come as a breakthrough, not just for the country, but across the globe. This is possibly the first vaccine for kids in the world at the moment today.
No, in fact, Nabila, there are vaccines world over that are being used. for children. Moderna's vaccine is being used in children, and so is Pfizer's. Both are in fact mRNA vaccines. So essentially, in India, it's a big development, but outside of India, we do have children who are getting vaccinated using these vaccines that I just mentioned. But yes, significant, like Covaxin, for example, let me quickly tell you, is another vaccine that is essentially known as Novavax outside of India. Covaxin in India, it is being manufactured by the Serum Institute of India, essentially. This vaccine is being tested in children as well. But Bharat Biotech's vaccine is significant, like I said, from the point of view of the age group, which means that if there are parents, and there are so many parents who are saying that let the vaccine come, and then we will think about sending our children back to school. In that sense, children in primary schools also are home right now. If they do choose, and if the rollout process allows them, they can in fact now go on and get this approval essentially from the government of get the vaccine for the kids. Given that the approval has come in from the subject expert committee, the subject expert committee's recommendations are very clear, and the procedure is also extremely clear. The subject expert committee is the body that recommends whether they do want a vaccine to be given to kids or to adults. The subject expert committee on COVID-19 is the body that has approved the vaccines right now being used in the country. And these are the recommendations that finally go to the Drugs Controller General of India, after which the nod from the DCGI comes in. In the case of all of the vaccines being used, Sputnik V, Zycov V, also Covaxin, Covishield, all the vaccines authorized for use in the country right now. The rule is clear. The subject expert committee has made its recommendations.
Stay with us, Sneha. I'm going to quickly cut across to Dr. Naresh Trehan, who is speaking to India Today. Let's take a listen.
मिलेगी हमारे बच्चों को, हमारे क्योंकि 2 साल से तो स्कूल ही नहीं जा रहे, ऑलमोस्ट 2 साल हो गए
जी।
तो इससे बहुत सिक्योरिटी हो जाएगी कि बच्चों को प्रोटेक्शन मिला है। और जो थर्ड वेव में हम सोच रहे थे कि शायद ये बच्चों के माध्यम से अडल्ट्स को भी इन्फेक्शन फैलेगा, तो सबको ही प्रोटेक्शन मिलेगी, बच्चों को ही नहीं अडल्ट्स को भी मिलेगी, बुजुर्गों को भी मिलेगी। तो ये तो एक तो इंडिया में बनी है, ये तो इसके लिए तो हमें वैसे ही एज एन इंडियन गर्व है कि ऐसा यहाँ पे इतनी बायोटेक्नोलॉजी बढ़ गई है। और दूसरा फैक्ट कि ये इफेक्टिव निकली है और इससे बहुत अच्छा फायदा होगा हमारी सारी पॉपुलेशन को, बच्चों को खास करके।
बिल्कुल सर, डॉक्टर साहब ये भी आपसे जानना चाहेंगे, अगर आप बताएं कि जैसे अभी जो ऑलरेडी हमें जो अडल्ट्स को मिल रहे हैं डोजेस, उसके बाद भी बूस्टर डोज की भी बात की जा रही थी कि अगर जरूरत पड़ी तो बूस्टर डोज भी इंट्रोड्यूस किया जा सकता है, तो क्या ऐसा बच्चों के साथ भी आगे सोचा जा सकता है?
हाँ नहीं, वो तो जैसे ये इफेक्टिवनेस पता लगेगी इस वायरस के अगेंस्ट, कि जो कैसे पता लगता है कि ये जो 6 महीने के बाद जो ऐसा लग रहा है कि लोगों की जो इम्यूनिटी हम एंटीबॉडीज से मेजर करते हैं, क्योंकि इम्यूनिटी 2 तरीके की होती है, एक एंटीबॉडीज की होती है, दूसरी सेलुलर रिस्पॉन्स होता है बॉडी का। तो जो एंटीबॉडीज मेजर कर रहे हैं उससे लोगों को जिनके बहुत ही ज्यादा गिर गए हैं उनके लिए ये सोचा जा रहा है कि बूस्टर डोज दिया जाए, और दूसरा जो हेल्थ केयर वर्कर्स हैं जो सारा टाइम एक्सपोज्ड हैं उनको दिया जाए और बुजुर्गों को दिया जाए। तो ये स्टडी चल रही है, बहुत सारी कंट्रीज ने तो ये अप्रूव भी कर दिया है, अमेरिका में तो शुरू भी हो गया है
जी।
पर हमारे सामने 2 मुद्दे हैं। एक तो हमें तो अपनी पॉपुलेशन को पूरा कंप्लीट करना है वैक्सीनेशन, जो हमें उम्मीद है कि दिसंबर तक हो जाएगा, और साथ साथ जो वल्नरेबल लोग हैं उनके लिए ये कंसिडरेशन हमें करना है कि इनको बूस्टर डोज साथ साथ लगाया जाए। तो ये दोनों पे बहुत ज्यादा चर्चा चल रही है अभी, और ये इसका भी जो नतीजा एक्सपर्ट्स की जो कमेटी बनी है उसका नतीजा जल्द में ही पता लग जाएगा।
बिल्कुल डॉक्टर, अभी जो चीजें डॉक्टर त्रेहन जो बातें सामने आ रही हैं उसमें ये बताया जा रहा है कि कोशिश ये की जाएगी कि जिनको पहले से कोई एलिमेंट है, किसी तरह की परेशानी है जिन बच्चों को, या फिर वो एलर्जिक हैं, उन बच्चों को पहले दिया जाए वैक्सीन, इस तरह की कोई बात?
नहीं, देखो जैसा एक कंट्री की प्रायोरिटी में ये तो बात सही है कि जो ज्यादा वल्नरेबल है उनको पहले दिया जाए, क्योंकि उनकी प्रोटेक्शन हो जाए तो और बहुत ही अच्छा है। तो वो बच्चों में जो तादाद, ये तो ये तो डिपेंड करेगा सप्लाई ऑफ वैक्सीन के ऊपर कि कितनी तादाद में मिलती है हमें। हाँ, ये जरूर है कि जैसे हमने पहले भी बुजुर्गों को, एडल्ट्स में भी, और जो उनको कोमॉर्बिडिटीज थी उनको पहले दिया था, क्योंकि उनके अंदर हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन और डेथ का रेट हायर होता है, उनकी लाइफ बचाने के लिए ये किया गया था। अब बच्चों को भी वही पैरामीटर लगना चाहिए, वही यार्डस्टिक यूज होनी चाहिए जो हमने एडल्ट्स के लिए करी
जी।
इसीलिए ये जायज है और ये अभी अप्रूव तो हुआ है। अभी उनका जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कैपेबिलिटी कितने जल्दी वो रैंप अप कर सकते हैं उस पर डिपेंड करेगा।
बिल्कुल, लेकिन डॉक्टर त्रेहन, अगर आपसे ये जानना चाहें, आपको क्या लगता है कि जितने छोटे बच्चे हैं, जैसे 2 साल से लेकर के स्पेशली 8-9 साल तक के बच्चों को, अगर उनको क्या लगता है जब तक फुली हमारे देश में ये बच्चे वैक्सीनेटेड नहीं हो जाते हैं, क्या उससे पहले स्कूल खोलना या इन बच्चों का स्कूल जाना सही होगा?
नहीं, देखो, ऐसा है कि स्कूल तो खुले भी हैं और आहिस्ते आहिस्ते जो प्रिकॉशन के साथ आगे चल रहे हैं। तो अभी तो मैं जैसा है कि एक हमें बहुत केयरफुल रहना है छोटे बच्चों के लिए, ये क्योंकि उनका डिसिप्लिन रखना, अपने आप की मास्किंग करना, या उनको अपनी जो कोविड अप्रोप्रिएट बिहेवियर को मेंटेन करना छोटे बच्चों के लिए मुश्किल होता है। इसीलिए जैसे जैसे वैक्सीन होती जाएगी हमें भी वो कॉन्फिडेंस आता जाएगा कि स्कूल खुल सकते हैं, क्योंकि हम ये नहीं चाहते कि अननेसेसरी रिस्क हो बच्चों को, छोटे बच्चों को। तो मैं जरा अभी ऑपरेशन थिएटर में हूँ,
बिल्कुल जी,
अब जाने दें।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर त्रेहन। Dr. Naresh Trehan there, giving us some clarity on vaccine for kids. He says, of course, even though kids do have great immunity, it's an option now for parents. If at all kids are comorbid, then they get first priority. And it also now depends on the availability of these vaccines. The world over, vaccines for kids, like Sneha Murdani also highlighted, Moderna, Pfizer have already rolled out their vaccines for kids, and considering it's already been accepted the world over, it's already been used safely. It appears now Covaxin too in India will soon be available for safe use for kids, a 2-dose vaccine that will be available soon enough, as the trials have just completed and the drug regulatory body has given a nod and approval for Covaxin now to be used among children. This is India Today's big breaking that we're currently following. Here, this vaccine paves way for parents, of course, to be rest assured that their children can be safe. They will be able to go to school without a worry. Remember, at least close to 2 years now that the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in schools being shut. Now, this comes a year and a half later since the pandemic began. Finally, vaccine for kids. After adults, now kids can also get their vaccine doses, 2 doses of the Covaxin, about a month apart between each dose. This is what is said, more or less 20 days to a month, the time period between the 2 doses. And Covaxin, Bharat Biotech, in fact, from the start, right from the start, Covaxin, which has been rolled out by Bharat Biotech, is India's indigenous vaccine. India has been proud of Bharat Biotech for rolling out the vaccine in time for adults. At that point too, even though the WHO approval came a little late, a little delayed, it was said back then itself that the vaccine is safe even for kids, not just for adults, but even for kids. And it's now here. Information coming out that Covaxin now is safe also for usage for kids between 2 to 18 years. This is the emergency approval that the drug regulatory body has now given. Covaxin now will be available as soon as possible. In fact, the announcement has just come in. Possibly in a few weeks' time, it will be rolled out for children as well. Now, there are vaccines across the globe. Pfizer and Moderna have also rolled out vaccines for kids, and it has proven to be safe. Even though children have high immunity, it's said that to end the pandemic, it's safer that kids too take the vaccine. Very few children across the globe were affected severely with the COVID-19 pandemic, the disease itself. But nonetheless, to be on the safer side, here is vaccine giant Bharat Biotech, along with 2 others, Pfizer and Moderna, in the United States, who's now come out with vaccine for kids. Covaxin says this is a 2-dose vaccine which can be given very safely to children between the age group of 2 to 18. Here we're looking at a nod coming in from the drug regulatory body. Covaxin now has been given emergency approvals for vaccine among kids between 2 to 18. There were several, of course, apprehensions initially on whether or not kids need to be vaccinated. Initially, the talk was adults being vaccinated would be good enough. But then over time, studies shows that children too could be at risk. Considering the third wave just around the corner, children could be more susceptible. At a time like this, even before, thankfully, the third wave could knock at the doors on India, here we have COVID-19 vaccine for kids, Covaxin, Bharat Biotech's India's indigenous vaccine now, safe for usage between 2 to 18 years among children. Sneha Murdani to elaborate more. Sneha, of course, the vaccine initially was said, Covaxin, it got delayed approvals. It came a little late, but nonetheless, now we are rest assured that Covaxin, which is approved the world over, is now also approved safely for kids between 2 to 18. The bottom line is this mandatory? Has the regulatory body said that this is a must for kids to be getting their vaccine, or is it optional for parents to decide if they want to get their children vaccinated or not? What's the rule for now?
Nabila, in fact, I just want to quickly clarify. Covaxin is not a vaccine that has got emergency use listing. In that sense, the approval is only meant for India, for Indians essentially, for those who want to use it in India.
Well, yes, but WHO has been given all the trial data, and we hear from the drug regulatory body time and again that it's just around the corner. Approvals are just around the corner. Trials data have already been submitted. There isn't a reason to why WHO would not approve it. It's just delayed.
Yes, in fact, to answer your second question also, there is in fact no rule that says that we have to in fact vaccinate children. As a matter of fact, there is no rule in India that says even adults have to be vaccinated. It's completely optional, as we all know, and that's the reason why there are many people who are still choosing not to take the vaccine. It applies to children as well. It is on parents, on guardians to decide on whether they want their children vaccinated against COVID-19 or not. If at all the rollout happens, and it is going to happen by the end of this year, it is expected that a lot of parents will go for it. It is also expected that a lot of people will choose to wait. You did mention, and that's very right, that there is in fact a school of thought that says that children maybe do not require the vaccine just yet. Maybe we should wait for more data. But there is a school of thought. In India, the government has said that we are also in fact working towards giving vaccines for our children, given that it gives a lot of more reasons for parents to then send their children back to schools. A lot of parents want to send their children back to schools when the vaccine is given. So that is important. What also is important is that this is the second vaccine in the country. For me, the very fact that the trials were done on children as young as 2 goes on to show that the government and the company in question, Bharat Biotech, has in fact taken a chance, and by including children as young as 2 in the trials. Remember, Zycov-D, which is the other vaccine being used in children in India, which of course the rollout is yet to happen, but the approval has come through, is a vaccine meant for children above the age of 12. This, from that point of view, is extremely significant. It's for children as young as 2, and children are not even going to primary schools in many parts of the country even now.
Right.
So that's going to be a big confidence-building measure when it comes to parents in then taking a decision on whether they want to then use Covaxin for their children and then take a call on sending them back to school or not. But the big news development, of course, is that the subject expert committee's recommendation to the Drugs Controller General of India for market authorization with several terms and conditions, which I've already listed out, for the approval for restricted use of Covaxin, India's indigenous vaccine, in children between the age of 2 to 18.
Well, Sneha, the big question, by when will this be available for kids, or when can kids start accessing Covaxin for children? Also about Zycov-D, you said Zydus Cadila has come up with a vaccine for age group between 12 to 18, but that is a needleless vaccine. Do you think for children now, Covaxin, the age group between 2 to 18 now, will they also get an option of a needleless vaccine? Will that be rolled out too?
No, Nabila. In fact, what I'm picking up from my sources is that, and this could change, but I really would want Bharat Biotech to talk about this, formally. There is some discussion that has been going on about a pre-filled syringe for Covaxin. This is not going to be a needle-free vaccine. Also, Zycov-D, which is Zydus Cadila's vaccine for children, is not exactly a needle-free vaccine. That's an intradermal vaccine, which means that the vaccine is administered on the surface of the skin, and in that sense is less painful. It is not like the regular shot of Covaxin that you and I have got, where we did have to, undergo the trick of the needle and put up with a few seconds of discomfort. In that sense, Zycov-D's vaccine is going to be a comfortable vaccine and ideal for kids. Bharat Biotech has also been working on the nasal vaccine. And my sense really is that Bharat Biotech would want to see this vaccine as the go-to vaccine for kids, given that it requires 2 drops on the right nostril, 2 drops on the left nostril, and the person to be lying down in an inclined position for 5 minutes. That would be ideal for children. But, children as young as 2 are used to needles. Children do take all kinds of vaccines, and influenza, typhoid, diphtheria. There's a whole range of vaccines, BCG at birth, MMR vaccines. There are a whole range of vaccines that children do take. And this is going to be another vaccine.
Right.
So
right, Sneha, stay with us. I'm going to quickly cut across to Dr. Naresh Trehan, who spoke to us a few minutes ago on India making headway when it comes to vaccine for kids. Here's what he had to say.
हमारे क्योंकि 2 साल से तो स्कूल ही नहीं जा रहे, वो ऑलमोस्ट 2 साल हो गए
जी।
तो इससे बहुत सिक्योरिटी हो जाएगी कि बच्चों को प्रोटेक्शन मिला है। और जो थर्ड वेव में हम सोच रहे थे कि शायद ये बच्चों के माध्यम से अडल्ट्स को भी इन्फेक्शन फैलेगा, तो सबको ही प्रोटेक्शन मिलेगी, बच्चों को ही नहीं अडल्ट्स को भी मिलेगी, बुजुर्गों को भी मिलेगी। तो ये तो एक तो इंडिया में बनी है, ये तो इसके लिए तो हमें वैसे ही एज एन इंडियन गर्व है कि ऐसा यहाँ पे इतनी बायोटेक्नोलॉजी बढ़ गई है। और दूसरा फैक्ट कि ये इफेक्टिव निकली है और इससे बहुत अच्छा फायदा होगा हमारी सारी पॉपुलेशन को, बच्चों को खास करके। ये इफेक्टिवनेस पता लगेगी इस वायरस के अगेंस्ट कि जो कैसे पता लगता है कि ये जो 6 महीने के बाद जो ऐसा लग रहा है कि लोगों की जो इम्यूनिटी हम एंटीबॉडीज से मेजर करते हैं, क्योंकि इम्यूनिटी 2 तरीके की होती है, एक एंटीबॉडीज की होती है, दूसरी सेलुलर रिस्पॉन्स होता है बॉडी का। तो जो एंटीबॉडीज मेजर कर रहे हैं उससे लोगों को जिनके बहुत ही ज्यादा गिर गए हैं उनके लिए ये सोचा जा रहा है कि बूस्टर डोज दिया जाए, और दूसरा जो हेल्थ केयर वर्कर्स हैं जो सारा टाइम एक्सपोज्ड हैं उनको दिया जाए और बुजुर्गों को दिया जाए। तो ये स्टडी चल रही है, बहुत सारी कंट्रीज ने तो ये अप्रूव भी कर दिया है, अमेरिका में तो शुरू भी हो गया है।
All right, Dr. Trehan there saying that this is, of course, massive headway for India when it comes to vaccines for kids. Milan joining us for more on that. Milan, over to you. Vaccine for kids. Covaxin, Bharat Biotech's India's indigenous vaccine, has now been approved as a safe vaccine for kids between 2 to 18. This is big, big news. I'd like to ask, by when could this be available for children per se? And what's the process like? Is it mandatory? What more do we know?
Well, Nabila, it is certainly good news as well as great news for children in India, because children's vaccine, especially from the ages of 2 to 8, has been approved by the Drug Controller General here, and that is Bharat Biotech's Covaxin. We have seen in the data that they have submitted to the Drug Controller General that the vaccine is safe and also generates immunogenicity, safety as well, very little side effects that have happened after taking Covaxin even in adults, when we have noticed when adults have been given a shot, a lot of questions surrounding whether the vaccine is a nasal vaccine or an injectable vaccine. For now, what sources have told us that it's going to be an injectable vaccine. So it's going to be 2 shots of Covaxin for children as little as 2 to 18 years. There's another vaccine, Zycov-D's, Zydus Cadillas vaccine, that's also been approved for children, which is yet for rollout. And we were expecting it to roll out somewhere in the mid of October. Zydus Cadillas vaccine has been delayed. So we can look at least the vaccine rolling out maybe after a month or so, because Bharat Biotech was already working on Covaxin. This vaccine was being given to adults. Now it has been tried in children. It has been found to be safe. So perhaps in a month or so, we should look at the rollout of Bharat Biotech's Covaxin for children as well. The dosage will be similar. According to what has been laid down right now, 2 doses, 2 shots. It's going to be an injectable vaccine. That is what is being told to us. The nasal vaccine, on the other hand, is also going through trials at the moment. So we could expect some good news on that front as well. But for now, the nasal vaccine trials are ongoing. One of the major points that the Drug Controller General has given Bharat Biotech the approval for Covaxin is as well that they will continue to study the effects of the vaccine on children even after getting an authorization to add the vaccine to India's vaccination program. And certainly children will be able to feel safer, because we know that there are parents who wish for their children to get vaccinated. Of course, this vaccine taking is not mandatory. As with all COVID-19 vaccines, the government has not made it mandatory. It's a voluntary effort by people themselves to protect themselves from COVID-19, especially before the 3rd wave. And, the government is ready for any eventuality for a 3rd wave, but schools have remained shut for a lot of children, which will be a good news for children if they could safely return back to school.
Well, fantastic news there, Milan, for vaccines in the vaccine space in India. Kids were awaiting a vaccine and finally it's here. Covaxin has now finally got approval from the drug regulatory body that it's safe enough for use for kids between 2 to 18 years. This is the first vaccine for kids in India which has been rolled out by Bharat Biotech. I'm going to cut across to details and on really the merits of the vaccine, how really a parent can go about getting their child vaccinated. Is it compulsory? How soon will you be getting it? We're going to follow up on that news right on the other side of a short break. Stay with us.